Hey, how are you? It's a brand new year and a brand new decade, and with that is going to come new players to Mortal Kombat 11. Now, maybe you just got Mortal Kombat 11 for Christmas, maybe you just are getting into it for the first time, maybe you had it for a while, maybe you are not even a new player, but you just now are starting to try out Baraka, and you want some quick tips on how to get started. And so that's what we're going to do today with this video. We're just going to go over some quick tips. This is not going to be a super advanced, in-depth guide. This is just going to get your feet underneath you. Honestly, and this is my opinion, you can take it or leave it, people look for these guides to be more like a how to instantly make me good guide. Honestly, all I want to do is give you some tools that you can take into matches, and then you can grow from there. If you have any further questions, of course, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. I will read them, and I will answer them. So let's get right into it. Now, one of the main things that you're going to realize about Baraka is that he is an extremely simple character to play. Excuse me, Baraka, quit making all the noise. And this Marauder, which is, I have the custom names on, but this is the Marauder Variation. It's actually the easiest of his 3 variations, on one of the easiest characters to play in a game that's already pretty easy. So overall, this is a great beginner choice if you're just now getting into Mortal Kombat. If you're not really used to fighting games in general, and you really just want to kind of get your hands dirty going straight in, Baraka is a good place to start. He has easy combos, so an example of one of his bread and butters would just be his 1-1-2, cancel into gutted, amplify that, forward 4 into gutted. Really easy combo, gets you a good amount of damage for not a whole lot of effort, to be honest. You can, of course, you can end with, say, Chop Chop instead of the last gutted. So if you wanted to do that, it would look like this. You'd amplify into forward 4 into Chop Chop. That gets you some more damage. And also, you'll notice something about gutted. As we go into it, let's say we stop it here. You'll notice the other player is still taking damage. You can kind of see that blood coming out of his gut there. That is because this attack, when amplified, does damage over time. You can see the blade still in there. So you see his health decreasing a little bit. So that's another thing, is Baraka has very, very good damage. He has good damage and he has good range. So you see he can hit his forward 2 from a pretty good ways away, and you can cancel that into gutted at certain ranges. In addition to that, with this particular variation, he actually has additional normals. So you'll notice, normally Baraka's down 1 just looks like this. It's just him punching. Or his down 3 is just this little kick he does. But with the Marauder variation specifically, he has something called Baraka Barrage, which gives him 2 additional normals, and actually a couple of air normals as well. So, or an air normal as well. So if you press down and forward, that's at the same time, not like a fireball motion, but at the same time you press down, forward, and punch, or down, forward, and 1 rather, you'll get that little thing. Now, it has better range, but it will cause them to stumble backwards. You see that? So you want to make sure you keep that in mind. It's going to cause them to stumble backwards, whereas down 1 normally doesn't do that. So if you're at certain ranges, and say you like to down 1 into Chop Chop, you won't be able to do that at every range if you use the Baraka Barrage normal. Down forward 3 is not as useful in my opinion. It's kind of slow, and you might as well just use, it doesn't have very much more range than down 3, and really you should mostly just be using down 1 and down forward. And so one thing you'll notice is I brought up the frame data here on the bottom of the screen, is that his down 1 is -4 on block and has 7 frames of startup. So it's a pretty average down 1, but his forward down 1 has 8 frames of startup. It's a little less negative on block, but it's slower. And so it's easier to interrupt. You just want to keep that in mind. Now, another great move of Baraka's for spacing is his back 4. His back 4 is his sweep, and it has a lot of range, as you can tell, and you can really catch people. That was a little too far, but you can really catch people off guard by using this move, kind of mixing it in with your other moves. Then, of course, we have his back 2. His back 2 is an overhead, meaning it has to be blocked while standing. if your opponent tries to crouch block it, it will not be successful. So you can kind of play some mind games a little bit with Baraka, although he's a very simple character. You can play some mind games and say you want to throw in one of those every once in a while, which is a low, so then they have to think, well, maybe I need to be crouch blocking while he's at this distance, and then you can switch in this. It is reactable, but online it's pretty hard to react to, so you'll catch a lot of people that way. Another move that he has that's really good in neutral is his Blade Spark. This is performed by pressing down back 1. And you can amplify it. And you'll notice that the first hit is a high. And the second hit is a mid. It's kind of disappearing off screen, but there you go. You see it on the right? The second hit is a mid, meaning they can't neutral duck it. So normally they could neutral duck, but if you amplify it, the second one will hit them if they're neutral ducking. Another move that's really good for Baraka in neutral is his forward 2. So you can catch people kind of off guard because it has good range. It's very, very fast. It has the startup of a lot of characters down 1s, which for a forward 2 is really good. And not only that, but it also causes quite a bit of stagger. It leaves you plus 11 when you hit them. In other words, you have a lot of time to kind of fit something else in. Although that wasn't a true combo, you can see kind of the advantage and, you know, having them on that kind of, that amount of hit stun as their character does that little animation. So one of the main things you want to focus on doing with Baraka is you want to get in close, you want to knock the opponent down, and then you want to start pressuring them on the ground. So let's say you get this combo going, and you can get up and you can get a low in. Low is his back 3 starter. So you can get this low starter in, which ends in an overhead. That's back 3-1-2. You can also cancel that into gutted to keep the combos going. And once they start to catch on to that, you can just throw in a back 2 every once in a while, and you know, maybe you'll catch him with that. Maybe you'll catch him with the overhead, which is 1-2-2. There's a lot of options for Baraka. He doesn't have that many moves. If you go into his move list, you'll notice, I mean, he doesn't have that many combos. He doesn't even fill up a whole page with his combo attacks, right? Now, another important move for Baraka is his forward 4-4. This move is an advancing normal that travels really far. Now, it's super negative, like the recovery is 33 frames. So if you whiff, you're going to get whiff punished. So you better make sure you space this correctly. Like this is too far. Well, never mind. Like this is too far. You'll kind of get a feel for what's too far. Like this, I think this will hit. It does. We'll get into crushing blows in a minute. But that misses. This hits. This is going to miss. Even this is going to miss. However, I think this will probably hit. It will. So, you know, you just got to get the feel for that. Forward 4-4 is really going to help you, especially against zoning characters that want to stay back and shoot projectiles. Especially Jade, because Jade doesn't really care too much about your Blade Spark, because she'll just glow, right? She'll use her glow, and then she's invincible to projectiles. So you'll want to be using forward 4-4 to close that distance. Make sure you don't use it too early, though, because if you're left like this, again, characters like Jade, characters like Cabal, Scorpion, they're going to punish you really, really hard for missing that. So make sure you use it at a time when it's appropriate. One last thing I want to go over in terms of neutral tools for Baraka is that he can actually cancel into gutted off of a low poke in neutral. And this can actually be a good tool. It's kind of a gimmick. You don't want to do it too much because your opponent will probably catch on and realize what you're doing and start punishing you for it. But basically, a big thing in Mortal Kombat 11 is the down poke wars. So you'll go into down 1, and you'll see that I'm -4 on block, which means it is technically my opponent's turn. Meaning if I try to mash this, they're going to hit me out of it. They're going to hit me out of the second one before they block it, if they're pressing their button. However, something Baraka can do to catch people off guard is immediately cancel that down 1 into gutted. Or not gutted, I'm sorry, chop chop. And if you notice that someone loves to immediately take their turn back after you get the down 1 poke, then you can start sprinkling that chop chop in afterwards, and it'll actually catch them trying to down poke, because it'll come out faster than their down poke will. And so you'll catch a lot of people doing that. Again, don't do it too much, because they'll catch on and they'll realize what you're doing. Now, an interesting thing about chop chop is you can actually control the length of the move. So there it was short. Oops, that's not what I'm trying to do. There it was short. There it was a little bit longer, and there it's the longest that I could make it. Now this can throw them off, because it'll basically make them have to guess what length of time you're going to do it, or else have really good reactions in order to punish chop chop correctly. So it can keep them guessing. You can get in their mind really well. Am I going to just let you take your turn back, or am I going to go into gutted for some free damage and some Oki? Am I going, what am I going to do? And it can make them guess. And then eventually you can start just sprinkling in some throws. So say they take the poke, but then they stay blocked because they don't want to get hit by chop chop. Well, then you can just walk up and throw them. There's a lot of mind games that can be played there with that particular gimmick. Now we're going to get a little bit into Baraka's crushing blows. He has some pretty decent crushing blows that lead into some big damage. And so he has the one that everyone has, which is his down 2 crushing blow. And that, of course, just leads into basically some bread and butter kind of stuff. See how much freaking damage that is. It's almost 50% damage off of his crushing blow. Another one that's similar is his 1-2-2. Now this one is especially good because it's an overhead. The crushing blow hit itself is an overhead, so you can really catch people off guard with it at times. And it launches, and you can go into gutted, and a chop chop, whatever you want to do. And again, you're looking at 41% damage, and then whatever bleeding damage they take after that. So that's another good example. Now, one of his crushing blows that I think is really effective is his forward 4-4. Actually has a crushing blow. So let's get this Baraka in the corner, and let's have him do a wake-up attack. Alright, so now we have Baraka doing a get-up attack when he gets up. So he'll hit me if I just try to press the issue, right? If I decide I'm going to meet him, he has invincibility and he's going to hit me off of them, right? If you want to know how to do get-up attacks and stuff like that, just go in the tutorial for the main game. It'll teach you everything you need to know in there. Now, something you can get going on with Baraka is you can whiff punish this really well. Check that out. So if your opponent is in the corner and is going to likes to use those wake-up attacks, knock him down, wait for it, bait it out, and then hit him with the forward 4 crushing blow. Another crushing blow I want to talk about with Baraka is his gutted crushing blow, which actually comes from if you hit gutted and you have, I think, 10 hits in the combo. If it's the 10th or more hit in the combo, you'll get a crushing blow with it. It does increase damage and more bleeding damage. So for instance, normally gutted looks like this, right? That's what it looks like. Well, if we amplify it and turn it into a 10 plus hit combo, there's the crushing blow. It does additional damage, and you can see how much bleeding damage he's taking right now. It's a lot. It's a lot. He does quite a bit of damage over time with that. Now, the cool thing about his gutted crushing blow is actually that you can convert into it off of other crushing blows. This is not unique to Baraka. Other characters have similar combos, but you're looking at an obscene amount of damage when you convert into one of these combos. Say somebody comes up to you, and let's just say for the sake of argument, they don't have any defensive meter, and you get a punish. So you go into 1-2-2 for the crushing blow, into the forward 4, cancel into gutted, amplify, forward 4, into gutted again, and there's 2 crushing blows in one combo, 42% plus whatever the bleeding damage is. That's like more than 50% for one bar off of one punish. That's the kind of damage you're talking about with Baraka. Another example would be if they try to throw you and you get the down 2 crushing blow. or amplify gutted, and then go into it again. Now you're talking about 48% into whatever bleeding damage you're going to do. So you're just going to do an absurd amount of damage with Baraka, and even if you don't have that crushing blow, you're going to get a lot of damage off of any of these crushing blows just by canceling into Chop Chop if you wanted to. Even then, you're getting 41% almost off of just that 1-2-2, or off of this down 2 crushing blow. Say you already used the crushing blow. 46%. So Baraka does a lot of damage, and he has pretty good practical crushing blows. In addition to those, he also has 2 throw crushing blows, meaning if your opponent escapes the wrong way and you get the escape failed, basically you have the ability to get a crushing blow just by throwing them. And Baraka has 2 of these. He has one for his front throw and his back throw, which is not something that every character has. So for instance, his front throw crushing blow looks like this. Ugh, isn't that just nasty? That's so nasty. And that's for 310 damage, or 31%. And then he also has his back throw for another 31%. So every single match you can get 2 throw crushing blows. It's pretty good. So lastly, before we end the video, I just wanted to go over a couple of quick combo routes that you might need to keep in mind when you're playing as Baraka. Keep in mind again to use this forward 4-4 liberally. It is -7 on block, meaning characters with 6 frame down 1s can punish it with that down 1. But most people are either not going to be able to do that online or not playing a character that can do that. So it's really not too much to worry about. I would say use this move pretty liberally. Use this move pretty liberally when you're at this range, because it's so fast. Use this move pretty liberally when you're at this range, because it's so fast. And it's hard for a lot of characters to down 2 punish because you're at such a range, unless you do it like right up next to them like that. So for punishes, if someone throws out something that's unsafe, and you're just going to have to get in the lab and figure out what characters do what unsafely. Online, people do a lot of unsafe stuff. For punishes, you want to start things with 1-1-2 or 1-2-2. 1-1-2 just being that, or 1-2-2 being this. Right? And you want to do that because you can cancel either of those into gutted. And that leads you into your basic B&B. And again, you can end those combos with gutted or with chop chop. In fact, if you're not going for the crushing blow, generally, I recommend you end in chop chop, because you are actually going to do a little bit more damage. Another one of his good starters is his back 3, so remember to use it. It's a low, and if you go into 1 and back 3 1 cancel into gutted, you get that. So you'll notice here I have Baraka jumping, and the reason for this is because there's actually a pretty cool thing you can do with Baraka, and you can do this with other characters too, but a lot of people like to jump online, and if you can read this, if you kind of get used to someone jumping constantly and you figure out what they're doing, you can actually do an air-to-air jump 1, which is just this move right here, and you could hit them out of the air and then land and go into a full combo just off of them jumping. So let me go over a couple of corner combos real quick. If you manage to get your opponent in the corner, something Baraka's really good at is a jump 3, a neutral jump 3 into a juggle combo in the corner. So what you want to do is you want to do a jump 3 and you want to follow it up with 2 or 3 down 1s. So you can do 2 and standing 1-1-2 and get your full combo that way. Or if you're confident in your abilities to do it online, you can actually get 3 of those down 1s. Now ignore me, I did a down 4 there by mistake. You want to do forward 4. Another good Baraka corner combo is once you get them in the corner with gutted, amplify it, hit them with a standing 4, which is this move, into a down 1, into a 1-1-2. So like this. You can see that's a lot of damage. That's about 41% for 1 bar. And you can of course also turn that into a crushing blow. Putting you at about 45% once all of the bleeding damage is completed. Well, alright guys, I hope this guide was helpful overall. If you have any additional questions on how to play Baraka, just leave me a comment down in the comments below. I'm going to be playing some online matches with Baraka here in the upcoming weeks, so hopefully you'll see some of these things being put into practice. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Alright guys, see you next time.